This video is brought to you by you guys. Thank you so much for voting, and please check out the link in the description below to vote for your favorite speed character in BBS. With that said, hello everyone and welcome to the most popular power characters that's chosen by you guys, the BBS community. This is actually my second attempt at recording this. After about 4 hours of recording the first time, my computer decided it would be fun to delete everything without a way for me to get it back. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, cause it's been a nightmare on my end. With that said, let's begin.
私に勝とうなんて100万年早いわ。全開でいくわよ。
Now we're starting off with the only real surprise on this list, the Machine Society version of Riruka. And it's not a surprise that she's on this list, I fully expected it. I'm just surprised she got number 10 instead of higher. Since so many people threaten to leave Inheritance Zone's co-op if you don't take her, I'd expect her to be a bit higher on the list. Riruka has a really high attack as well as a plus 20 bruiser and flurry. She's also got poise, meaning she doesn't stagger, and all of her attacks can inflict debilitating weakening. This is especially useful for her strong attack too, since it's a vortex move that surrounds her. It has a high hit count, so it's very likely to inflict weakening, and it almost doubles as a shield. Her strong attack 3 also has a very good chance to inflict weakening, since it's a hybrid vortex move that gathers enemies in one spot. Both of these attacks are really useful for normal attacking characters to have, and it makes her a great character to auto with. Plus she's got a damage reduction soul trait, so she's not going to take as much damage as other characters. But what really sets this character apart is her ability to get you an extra 5 link slot potions whenever you're doing Inheritance Zone. And while this ability does stack, it really shouldn't be a reason you close down an entire co-op room. Some people just don't have her. You shouldn't really punish them for it.
手加減はしないわ。これで終わりよ。
Next up is the Can't Fear Your Own World version of Nell, specifically the power one, even more specifically the one with 2 legs. Now this Nell has a really high SP as well as Frenzy. She's also got a strong attack recharge link, and really good range on her strong attacks, though none of them are full screen. Now in addition to the Frenzy, she's also got Berserker at 40, meaning her strong attacks are gonna pack a punch. She's also got Bruiser at 40, so her normal attacks are gonna deal decent damage, and her Devastation is at 60, so her special is also gonna deal a bit more damage than a regular special. Nell's also got Guard Break, meaning that there's no guarding against her attacks, so you'll be able to clear quests a bit faster. Now as I mentioned, her strong attacks aren't full screen, but they do have good range. Her strong attack 1 is a pushback move that pushes enemies back, something that's particularly good against bosses, especially in Senkaimon, since you can use it before they use their special. And her strong attack 3 affects a large area in front of Nell, clearing not just the enemies in front of her, but also the ones that spawn ahead, allowing for an even faster clear time. To top everything off, Nell's completely immune from being poisoned and paralyzed, which makes for a lot less things to worry about when going through a mission. I certainly wasn't expecting a second Can't Fear Your Own World Nell, but she is one of my favorite female characters in any anime, so I for one am not complaining.
魂魄切削 6%。時間蹂躙銃。
Next up is the 1000-Year Blood War version of Nemu, who has a really high SP and Frenzy. She's also got great range on her strong attacks thanks to her Havoc at 20, and a strong attack recharge link. The combination of these two means that she can spam her strong attacks over a wide area and finish a quest pretty quickly. It's not the only thing she has though. She's also got a decent attack for a high SP character, long reach at 20 and bruiser at 20. So her normal attacks are an option if she has to wait for her strong attacks to recharge. By far the best thing about this character though is her special, that grants protection status to any team member alive when she uses it, and brings them back from the dead if they were to die anytime after. This also includes Nemu, so it's also pretty good in Senkaimon. Nemu also has an additional flash step, making it easier to dodge specials and clear levels faster. Finally, she's also completely immune to being frozen. I'm honestly really not surprised to see her on this list, since she's got a pretty big following in my channel. Buy the shirt.
そろそろ私の冷圧に耐えられなくなってきた頃か。
Next up is the third fusion version of Aizen, who like the previous 2 characters has a really high SP as well as Frenzy. This Aizen also has a strong attack recharge link, so he's also able to spam his strong attacks, but it's a bit more useful for him because all of his strong attacks have a chance to inflict debilitating weakening, especially his strong attack 2, which is a crawling vortex move. Perfect for inflicting status ailments or just racking up a high combo. It's also pretty good for crowd control. Since Aizen is a ranged character, it helps keep enemies back. The other strong attacks are also pretty good. They both have great range and are pretty quick to activate, but the most unique thing about him is his normal attack. Despite not having a super high attack, his normal attack actually has pretty good damage potential, since the last two attacks on the string have a 360% magnification. Now granted, they do split off in 3 directions, but up close, they can deal as much damage as 6 normal attack finishers, which even for a high SP character is a lot. Finally, Aizen is completely immune to being frozen as well. I'm honestly not surprised to see him on this list. Aizen's a great villain, so it really isn't a surprise that he's so popular.
大地の慟哭を聞きなさい。ランサデルソ・ガミューサ。
Next up, we have the Can't Fear Your Own World version of Nell, specifically the power one, specifically the one with 4 legs. Now I actually personally voted for this Nell. She is my favorite power character in this game, so I'm really happy to see her on this list. She's got a really high attack as well as poise and a plus 80 bruiser. It's not flurry, but it's pretty close. Plus, she's got one of the best normal attack strings in the game, since it lunges her forward anytime she attacks, increasing the range of the attack and making her harder to hit since she's constantly on the move. Combination of which make her one of the best auto-aim characters of all time and a pretty solid character for PvP. Nell is also able to inflict debilitating weakening on all of her attacks, something that's particularly useful for her strong attacks 2 and 3, since her strong attack 2 is a vortex move that surrounds her, and her strong attack 3 is a hybrid vortex move that gathers enemies in one spot before hitting him one final time. Both of these moves have a high hit count, so they're very likely to inflict weakening, and thanks to her plus 40 berserker, they'll deal a decent amount of damage by themselves. And because she's got a strong attack recharge link, these strong attacks come back faster than normal attacking characters would. Honestly, Caleb nailed it when creating this character. I normally prefer my Nells with 2 legs, but this one is definitely the exception.
我らの誇りを汚した罪、その身ごときで贖えると思うな。
Next up is not just one of the best power characters in the game, but one of the best PvE characters in the game in general, the Spirit Society version of Byakuya. Not only does he have a really high SP as well as Frenzy, but he also has ridiculous range on his strong attacks, all of which have a chance to inflict debilitating freeze. This is partly thanks to his Havoc at 20, but even without it, they would still have really good range. With it though, his strong attack 3 is beyond full screen, and his strong attacks 1 and 2 have about as much range as other characters' strong attacks 3s. Not to mention that they're really quick to activate, and because he has Berserker at 20 as well as Frenzy, they deal quite the punch. He's also got a strong attack recharge link, so he's able to spam all this, and he's got a Soul Reaper killer, which is still the best killer in the game to have. Topping everything off, he's also completely immune to being poisoned. Every now and then, Caleb will throw a really good character out for seasonal. Byakuya is definitely one of these characters.
ヤシル、そこにいろ。これを待ってたぜ。このゾクゾクする感覚をよ。
Coming in at number 4 is the power version of Kenpachi, specifically the newer one. This version of Kenny has a really high attack as well as poise and flurry. This means he's going to deal quite a bit of damage while not staggering, and thanks to his long reach he's going to be able to reach enemies from further away. This version of Kenny can inflict debilitating weakening on all of his attacks, which is particularly useful for his strong attack 2 that's a vortex move that surrounds him. And because he's a PvP character, this strong attack 2 also helps with taking out enemies with 10 barriers, since it kinda rips through him. Now he's a really good character to auto with. Fairly reliable, and with his damage reduction soul trait he can last a bit longer than most characters can. The only problem is his captain killer. These days most everything has killer multiplications, and the only time the captain killer really comes in handy is when you're up against a boss and only if they're a captain. Still, this situation does pop up in Senkaimon, Guild Quest, and PvP, so it's not really all bad. Kenpachi's always been a very popular captain, so I'm not really surprised to see him here.
見届けるがいい。全てを無に返すこの力を。トルメンタでムルシエラコ。
Next up is the 3rd anniversary version of Ulquiorra, who honestly has a little bit of everything. Not only does he have a really high SP and Frenzy, but he's also got a boosted strong attack damage link of 25%, which comes in quite handy especially for his strong attack 3 that's a charge move, that doubles in strength when fully charged. All of Ulquiorra's attacks except for his strong attack 2 can inflict weakening, though it's not debilitating. Still, it does come in handy for dealing extra damage, or avoiding damage when using your special on a boss. Now Ulquiorra's Strong Attack 2 does two things. It's a boost move with Enhancer, which increases your team's attack, defense, and focus by 33%, and it's a barrier move, which grants 3 barriers to Ulquiorra and 1 to all teammates. This not only protects everyone, but also makes it towards everyone's attacks deal more damage, including Ulquiorra's normal attack and strong attacks. Finally, there's the most valuable thing about this character, and that's that you can pull him in premium summons. Unlike the other Beyond Resurrection Arankars, he isn't a part of Can't Fear Your Own World, so you can potentially pull him out of character tickets, and these days, that's the most valuable thing of all.
4歩のうちに踏みしめた空間の治水化風の全てを凍結する視界氷結
Coming in at number 2 is the oldest character on this list, the manga version of Toshiro. Now I have to point that out because he's actually surprisingly old. He came out only a couple of months after the 2nd anniversary, which is crazy because he holds up incredibly well. Not only does he have a really high SP and frenzy, but he can also inflict debilitating freeze on all of his attacks. And despite not having Havoc at all, his strong attacks have really good range, to the point where his strong attack 2 has about the same range as other characters' strong attack 2s that have Havoc. And thanks to his strong attack recharge link, he can spam these. And you're gonna want to too, because his normal attack isn't great. It is fast and it does have good reach, but this Toshiro doesn't actually have Bruiser at all. So unless you increase his normal attack in some way, it's not gonna deal that much damage. His special on the other hand definitely will. It's not only full screen and guarantees freeze, but it also has defense weakening, letting you deal more damage not just with the special but also with the follow-up attacks. Honestly, I'm not surprised at all that this character is at number 2 on this list. I'm just surprised that he remains this good despite being so old. Now before I get to number 1, here are a few characters that almost made it on the list. But once again, I want to take this time to remind you guys to please go vote on your favorite speed character in the game. These lists can't be done without you guys, and I really appreciate the help.
2対1で卑怯かもしれねえけど頼むぞ井上。
はい。行け。
勝たせてもらうぜ。そうザビマルゼゲッテッパー気分がいいぜ。久々に制限なく力を出せてる感じだ。
世はすべてこともなし。いさかいはこの風で吹き消してやろう。仰せのままに。
いかがでしょう。
代々受け継ぐ伝統の舞じゃ。お主も夢の世界へいざなってやろう。
ほんならそろそろ奇跡の時間や。ひっくり返したるわ。挽回坂島横島八方塞がり。
Now finally at number 1 we have the Can't Fear Your Own World version of Shinji, who has a really high SP as well as a whole lot of multipliers. For one thing, he's got Frenzy, but that's just the beginning. He's also got Berserker at 20, and the unique ability that increases the damage of strong attacks by power captains by 20%, including himself. In addition to this, all of his attacks have a chance to inflict debilitating confusion, which pairs well with his other ability that inflicts an extra 40% damage with all of his attacks on any enemy that is confused. In other words, this Shinji's dealing a whole lot of damage, especially after a special since it's guaranteed to confuse. Shinji's also got Havoc at 20, so his strong attacks have excellent range, and he's got a strong attack recharge link, so he can spam them, increasing the likelihood of inflicting confusion somewhere, and thus letting him deal more damage. I was actually really afraid they were gonna screw up this character. Confusion's a pretty hard thing to get right in this game, but they absolutely nailed it when it comes to this character. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for some more top 10 lists.